good morning to all the students. Students, this is our very first lecture for the section 2 poetry. And today we are going to learn about one such poem, a very beautiful poem on trees. How many of you like trees? I do like trees. Trees are the most beautiful things that we see around in nature. Now the trees are useful in many ways. We as children like to play under the trees. We like its shade. We like the fruits that grow on the trees. When I was small, I used to climb the trees. How many of you have ever tried to climb a tree? So if you have ever tried, you will understand what is the fun of having a tree around you. The tree is very important for all of us. As you know, trees give you oxygen, which is very important for your survival. In return, they only require is some love from us. Now I am talking about the actual love. Yes, there should be at least one tree in every family. It is said so. So the trees are very important for us. So today we are going to discuss, or we are going to rather learn about one such poem by the famous poet Ruskin Bond. Now this particular poem is the poet's ecstasy, his attraction, his love for a very small cherry tree. So let us begin. Sorry, that is Himachal Pradesh. He has written over 100 of short stories, essays, novellas. He was very famous among the children. Ruskin Bond's most work was for the children. So you know that we have already studied many stories about Ruskin Bond. Here we can see that he wrote the first novel at the age of 17. Most of us at the age of 17 are confused about our careers. What are we going to do after 10th standard? But at the mere age of 17, he wrote his first novel, which also brought him a prize. At just the age of 17, he wrote his first novel, The Room on the Roof. In 1992, he was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award, one of the most prestigious awards which are given for the field of literature in India. And in 1999, he won the Padma Shri Award. So today we are going to learn one such beautiful masterpiece from the poet Ruskin Bond. I hope you enjoy it. Now let's see what the poem is about. The poem is a wonderful relationship between the boy and a small sapling of a cherry tree. Now the cherries are small, very tasty and sweet fruits. They are similar to the strawberries. Now how many of you have eaten strawberries? Many of you have. That means the cherries are very small. Now this particular poem is about this boy's relationship with the cherry tree. His ecstasy, his attraction. He wanted to have his own cherry tree. But when he did so, after watering the plant once, he totally forgot about it. But the mighty cherry tree, it grew on its own. And finally, it became a huge cherry tree, which the poet loves at the end. And he's been wondering how the mighty cherry tree must have fought to all the odds and become the large cherry tree. So let us see the explanation of the poem now.
8 years have passed since I placed my cherry seed in the grass. Must have a cherry tree of my own, I said, and watered it once and went to bed. And forgot, but cherries have a way of growing, though no one's caring very much or knowing. And suddenly that summer, near the end of May, I found a tree had come to stay. It was very small, 5 month child, lost in the tall grass running wild. Goats ate the leaves, the grass cutter's scythe split it apart, and a monsoon blight shriveled the slender stem. Even so, next spring I watched 3 new shoots grow. The young tree struggle upward thrust, its arms in a fresh, fierce lust for light and air and sun. I could only wait as one who watched wandering while time and rain made a miracle from a green growing pain. I went away next year, spent a season in Kashmir, came back thinner, rather poor, but richer by a cherry tree at my door. 6 feet high, my own dark cherry, and I could scarcely believe it a berry, ripened and jeweled in the sun, hung from a branch just one. And the next year there were blossoms small, pink fragile, quick to fall. At the merest breath, the sleepiest breeze, I lay on the grass at ease, looking up through the leaves at the blue, blind sky at the finches as they flew, and flitted through the dappled green, while bees in an ecstasy drank of nectar from each bloom, and the sun sank swiftly, and the stars turned in the sky, and moon moths and singing crickets and I Yes, I praised night and stars and tree, that small cherry grown just by me.
Line by line explanation of the poem. In the first line, he says, 8 years have passed since I placed my cherry seed in the grass. The poet is talking about the time that is 8 years ago. So the time taken by the small cherry seed to grow is 8 years. Must have a tree of my own, I said, and watered it once and went to bed. Now this is the thing, this is the beauty of Ruskin Bond's writing. See, such easy and simple language he is using to denote this thing, that he had placed a very small seed in the grass, okay, and then he watered it once and he went away to sleep. But after 8 years, what does he see? He sees a huge cherry tree and forgot. But cherries have a way of growing, though no one's caring very much or no. He says that he had watered it only once, that was 8 years ago. But after 8 years, he suddenly finds a big cherry tree in front of him. And he's saying that the cherries have a way of growing. Means he wants to tell something about the small cherry sapling here. And suddenly, that summer, near the end of May, I found a tree had come to stay. He's saying that after those times, after he had once in that particular time when he had watered the cherry tree and he went to sleep, and later in the summer he understood that he saw a very small cherry sapling there. He saw a very small cherry sapling which was standing in front of him. And it was wonderful thing for him. He was excited, he was shocked. But he said, how did this happen? I had only watered it once. Then how did the cherry tree grow there? It was very small, 5 months old child, lost in the tall grass, running wild. He said he's comparing this small particular plant to a 5-year-old child. He's saying that just a small child. This particular plant is a very 5 months old child, not 5 years, 5 months. Just 5 months old child. Like you see how small a baby, okay? A 5-month-old child, you compare that to this particular plant. It was that small. A very small cherry plant had come to stay there. Lost in the tall grass, running wild. Here running wild means that maybe near this cherry plant was tall grass. And this particular small plant was dancing in that particular air, the sideways. So see, this is the descriptive power, this is the narrative power, the use of images by Ruskin Bond. This is his power, his sight in nature, his vision in nature. He found that, see, he is explaining in such beautiful lines how he sees the small plant dancing in the wind between the long grass, tall grass. See, goats ate the leaves and grass cutters sighed. He said that and split it apart at a monsoon line. Oh, the poor cherry tree, the small cherry tree, the goats ate all the grass. You see that goats eat plants, different types of plants. If you have planted on your own, if that is particularly your plant, you will feel very bad for that. In the same way, some leaves were eaten by the goats and some by the scythe. The scythe is a particular tool used by farmers to cut grass. It is usually in this manner. Now this is the scythe. You have seen that. Those who are related with the farming profession, you know that what a scythe is, right? And in the heavy monsoon, because of the heavy rainfall, the plant had to suffer again and again it lost its many leaves. But the brave plants here shriveled the slender stem even so. Shriveled means it dried up. During the summer time, some of the leaves dried up. Next spring, I watched 3 new shoots grow. Shoot here means these 3 new branches. I saw 3 new branches coming to that particular cherry tree. See, this is the power. He is saying that this mighty cherry tree was so strong that no matter what problem or what obstacle came in its life, it was not giving up. It was fighting back with it. Next spring, I watched 3 new shoots grow. The young tree struggled, upward thrust, its arms in a fresh, fierce lust. He's saying that this particular cherry tree was not going to give up. It's going to become a large cherry tree one day. Today it's a very small plant, but tomorrow it's going to be a big cherry tree. It was pushing upwards, it was pushing itself upwards, it wanted to become a large cherry tree. You can see it's hard work, it wants to live, it wants to grow, and it is opening its arms. See, its arms in a fresh fierceness, it was just spreading its arms, and it was saying to the nature, no matter what you do, I'm going to grow one day. You cannot stop me from growing. I'm going to grow into a big, beautiful cherry tree, and I'm going to have those small, beautiful, sweet fruits. For light and air and sun, I could only wait as one. The mighty cherry tree was trying to grow, and it wanted to become big. For what was it fighting? It was fighting for the light, the air, and the sun. I could only wait as one. He said that I could only be as a viewer. I could stand in the audience and see what the cherry tree could do. Means in each of the seasons which the poet has mentioned, he used to come and he used to see where is that cherry tree now, where is the cherry tree. But he was also wondering how this mighty cherry tree was fighting against all odds. We see plants, right? Many a times, most of the plants which we plant, if you water it once, most of them they die. Okay, but if you are taking good care and suddenly one day you are not there, what will happen? Anything can happen with it, right? Some cattle may eat it, or it may be get dried, okay, or some by the hands of the gardener or any person. There is a chance that that particular plant may be cut and it may die. But without any external help, this mighty cherry tree, this small cherry sapling, this small plant is trying to become a big cherry tree. It wants to become big. See here, who watched wandering while time and rain made a miracle from green growing pain. Such a powerful and a beautiful line, such a powerful message. He says that who watched wandering, nobody cared for it, nobody saw it, I didn't see it, I just watered it once, after that I forgot about it. He says that made a miracle and a green growing pain. Such a powerful and a wonderful line. He's saying that it was a miracle that the cherry tree was growing on its own without anybody's external help, and it was a miracle for him. Green growing pain, it was suffering all the pain, but yet it was happy to grow. Okay, see here. I went away next year, spent the season in Kashmir. He says that I was not there for one particular season, that means maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months. He was not there with his small cherry tree. He was not there to see it. He was not there to, view it. He was not there. He went to Kashmir. Came back thinner, rather poor, but richer by a cherry tree at my door. He says that maybe when he went there, he had spent all his money, he came back poor. Okay, but when he came back, he saw the cherry tree and suddenly he felt, I am the richest person on earth now because I have my own cherry tree. He was so happy. This was the joy he was getting from having his own tree. This is the joy that most of us have. Okay, those who have plant, those who have, you have some kind of plant, you have some kind of hobby of planting trees. You will say that there is something in your garden. If you have a garden, there is something in your garden which gives you a lot of peace. When I was small, we used to have a small chiku tree in our garden. So whenever I used to feel sad, I used to go and sit there, talk with it. In the similar manner, his relationship, the poet's relationship with the cherry tree is it's very wonderful, it's beautiful. And he says that I went to Kashmir, came back again, I was poor, I didn't have any money, but the moment I saw the cherry tree, I became very happy. I said, wow, my cherry tree, I am the richest person on this earth now. See here. 6 feet high, my own dark cherry tree. Now initially his cherry tree was very small, right? But now suddenly, after one season, what does he see? He sees a long back from Kashmir, and suddenly in his garden he sees a big cherry tree, 6 feet high. Now he can see a very big cherry tree in his garden, and he is very happy now. He is so much rejoiced. He's happy. His happiness has no bound now. See here, and I could scarcely believe it, a berry ripened and dwelt in the sun. He says that he could see small cherries on his cherry tree, and he was very happy to see them. It was ripened means they were ready to be plucked. He wanted to pluck one of them, and he wanted to eat it. Hung from a branch, just one. He said that there were not many of them, just one particular cherry, which was good enough to be eaten. That means others were green maybe. Only one particular cherry was good enough to be plucked up and eaten. He wanted to eat this one, which was ripe. It had that beautiful color, that pink color, and he wanted to just eat it. When you see, if you have your own fruit trees, and if you see one particular fruit which is ripe, you will want to go and just pluck it and eat it. You will not wait for others to go and pluck this particular this fruit. You know that he just wanted to go grab it and eat it. And next year there were blossoms small, pink, fragile, quick to fall. At the merest breath, the sleepiest breeze. He says that after this particular time went and another season came, next year, after a year, there were many cherries on the tree. After every branch, there were small cherries and he wanted to eat all of them. He was the happiest person that time. Before he was only the richest person, now having the cherry tree with so many cherries on it, he had become the most happiest person on earth now. He just wanted to go grab it and eat it. I lay on the grass at ease. Now the final stanza, this is the final stanza. Now he says, I lay on the grass at ease, looking up through the leaves at the blue. He's laying down, he's sleeping now. This particular looking up through the leaves at the blue. He was laying down now. He's happy to have it finally. After 8 long years of waiting, the small cherry sapling has now become into a big cherry tree. At ease, he's just laying down in the grass and he's looking at the cherry tree. If you have your own trees in your own garden or your lawns, you can have that feeling, right? You have that feeling in the midsummer or maybe on a nice afternoon. You just lay on the grass, you're looking up, you're wondering about what's there on the tree, you're looking at the fruits. In a similar manner, the poet is now laying on the grass and with ease is looking up in the sky through the leaves of that tree. Blind sky and the finches as they flew and flitted through the dappled green. He says that he's looking through the green leaves of the cherry tree. He's looking at the blind sky. Blind sky means the sky may be totally empty, no clouds, nothing. Just a nice afternoon, a nice and warm afternoon. He's laying down under the shade of the tree. He's looking at that green leaves, that black blue sky, and he's wondering. While he's in an ecstasy dream, the most important word in this particular poem is ecstasy. Ecstasy here is a kind of happiness, a higher form of happiness which cannot be explained to any person. You cannot explain how happy that particular poet was when he had his own cherry tree after 8 years. He's waited for 8 years. But the happiness was not having the cherry tree, but it was seeing that small cherry sapling to fight against all odds and stand on its own feet and to become such a majestic and beautiful cherry tree. He could see small bees, honey bees, flying around the cherry tree. See here, while bees in an ecstasy drank of nectar from each bloom and the sun sang. He says that the bees are roaming here and there near the cherry tree. They are drinking some nectar, honey or somewhere from the fruits, or maybe even the flowers that cherry tree has. Okay? Swiftly and the stars turned in the sky. Swiftly means very fast. He didn't understand how the time passed. It was a nice and warm afternoon now it's an evening. He's saying that now I can see in the sky. Swiftly means very fast it went. And the stars came in the sky, turned in the sky. And moon moths and singing crickets. Both are insects. Crickets, you know cricket. Cricket is that particular, insect which makes that particular sound. Kirki. You can hear that, right? Yes, I praised night and stars in the tree. He says finally, yes, it is me who's praising the wonderful cherry tree now. I'm praising everything. He's praising everything which is around the cherry tree. He's praising the sky, he's praising the stars, he's praising the sun, the bees, the fruits, the flowers. He's praising almost everything because he has achieved the highest form of happiness in the form of the cherry tree. Thus that small, the cherry grown by. He says that its very last two lines are very important. See here. Yes, I praise night and stars and tree. that small, the cherry grown by him. Once 8 years ago, he had a very small dream by him. It was to have his own cherry tree. And today, after 8 years, he's finally achieved that thing. That is having his own cherry tree. Now, this is such a beautiful poem. To end the poem, I would say, this is the man's relationship with nature. It is such a beautiful relationship which cannot be explained in words. Having nature around you, having plants, fruits, greenery around you is a different kind of happiness. So this particular happiness is explained, or it is narrated, it is described in this particular poem by the poet Ruskin Bond.